pick other names besides my wife. I gotta be honest with you. She's not a huge fan of being on it. And I'm not really either, but it'd be better if you just didn't mention her name.
But what if Derek Carr was the ultimate compliment? I was calling a hot route and your wife is hot.
Would you want Derek Carr, who's a good-looking man, be calling your wife out for being hot? And not only that, but in the same context of Tiger Woods. Okay, you called a hot route. What's Tiger Woods mean?
True. Good point. That combination doesn't work. No. If I was Gruden, I wouldn't mind mentioning the wife, but not in the same sentence as Tiger Woods.
Wake Up Call with Tony B and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings from 7 to 9 Eastern.
Wake up call. I guess the only issue with Tampa winning the Stanley Cup, they may not get a parade out of it.
Boo-hoo. Now, the guy that has to travel with the cup, what is his COVID protocol? That thing has been around everywhere in every possible scenario.
This cup has seen things.
A gallon of Smirnoff vodka, 2 strippers, and the Stanley
Hey, Ton, you hooked in?
curator of the cup.
Wake Up Call with Tony B and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings from 7 to 9 Eastern.
Wake up call. I guess the only issue with Tampa winning the Stanley Cup, they may not get a parade out of it.
Boo-hoo. Now, the guy that has to travel with the cup, what is his COVID protocol? That thing has been around everywhere in every possible scenario.
This cup has seen things.
A gallon of Smirnoff vodka, 2 strippers, and the Stanley Cup meets a long night for the curator of the cup.
Wake Up Call with Tony B and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings from 7 to 9 Eastern.
Where are jobs in radio given out? They're not given out on a college campus. No.
Yeah, I'm here,
given
buddy.
out
Sorry.
in the real world.
All right, no problem.
Hello?
Radio station.
Yep.
Hey, I'm here. I'm just fixing something
No
real
people.
quick on my end.
Connection comes in. Most schools train you on campus. Radio Connection gives you the opportunity to learn.
Give me
from
1
professional
second. I'm going to
mentors in
probably just have to
real
talk to you
radio
in the break
stations.
real quick.
They've
Okay.
classrooms in these places so you can apprentice under professionals. And as you learn, you're making connections and gaining access to the people that are doing the hiring. This is not the promise of a job, no, but it is a promise to get you as close to the action and opportunities as possible. If COVID is a concern, no problem. You can learn from a radio professional via remote learning tools as well. This is education reimagined to keep you out of debt as you learn in real world settings. Interested? Visit radioconnection.com for more information today. That's radioconnection.com.
The Jake Asman Show.
What's an easier costume, the Gardner Minshew or me always being Jake from State Farm every year? I would say Jake from State Farm. All you need is khaki pants, a red polo shirt, print out the State Farm logo, print out a name tag that says Jake, and you're ready to go. It is the go-to costume of mine because it's easy and people always laugh. And unlike other people that do it, my name is actually Jake.
The Jake Asman Show. Weekday mornings from 9 to 11 Eastern.
Jay Farner here, CEO of Rocket Mortgage. Making the right financial decisions has never been more important. When you turn to Rocket Mortgage, we can help guide you to those right decisions now when they matter most. Mortgage rates are near historic lows, so now is a great time to call 8338-ROCKET. And if you need some extra money, a cash-out refinance could give you that financial boost you're looking for. Call today at 8338-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com to learn more.
Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. And MLS number 3030.
This is a Gal Media property in partnership with Jacob Media.
Set your system's volume control for slightly above the normal listening level.
Let's go.
Second level thinking is defined as looking beyond the easy, obvious conclusions.
You got to do some smart thinking.
Welcome to the second level on the Sports Map Radio Network, a show where we go beyond the box score.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage. Home loans that fit your life. Rocket can.
Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, here's Eitan Shander.
Looks like it's down to 3 right now. I can't believe one of these teams is even in contention, but here we are. Le'Veon Bell has decided it's either going to be the Bills, the Chiefs, my goodness, or the Miami Dolphins. Now, that just has to be leverage. Maybe they needed to throw a third team in there, the Le'Veon Bell camp, in order to add some leverage. maybe there is something in a longer contract or just more money or just a bonus, whatever it may be. And I think from that standpoint, you can look at it and think there's just no way. There is just no way that Le'Veon Bell, who is probably and definitely looking for a contender, is going to sign with the Miami Dolphins, who are out of contention. Now, this is not news, but it's being treated as news, and I don't know why, just because, hey, the NBA needs something to talk about. I get it. But Anthony Davis planning to opt out of his contract is news only if he plans on re-signing or does not plan on re-signing. That's not the case. He will re-sign with the Lakers. End of story. We move on. The only issue was whether or not he would re-sign with the LA Lakers. This is redundant. And it doesn't make any sense to harp over it and talk at length about it. Talk more about that than the games on the floor over the finals. Nope, not going to do it. So if you don't hear anything about Anthony Davis opting out and re-signing with the Lakers over the next hour and 52 minutes, you now know why. It's not important. It's not news. It's only news if he goes somewhere else. Now, where other people may go as a result, trickle-down effect, okay, but we're a long ways from that. In fact, and I can tell you why, I can tell you specifically why the great Sean Mapes is in the house producing. And Ron Culver is MIA, not the Miami Dolphins nor the rapper MIA, but missing in action. Because his Dodgers lit up the scoreboard last night. He's probably up drinking till 4 a.m.
Hi, this is Jay Farner, CEO of Rocket Mortgage. Making the right financial decisions has never been more important. We can help guide you to those right decisions now when they matter most. Mortgage rates are
No,
near
John,
historic lows. So when you call
testing out
833
backgrounds,
Rocket
my friend.
or visit us at
All right, Sean, I'm sorry, man. How are you?
start your
Good, buddy, good.
saving money every month.
Any sound, anything?
Nah, I don't think any. I mean, what do you have from the Dodgers?
3.43%.
I have the Muncy home run to go up 11-0. I have Dave Roberts saying he's confident in Clayton Kershaw going tonight.
Awesome.
We may be able to
Let's do so just the one home run from last night.
Rocket Mortgage, we're committed to every client, every time.
Right.
Yeah, just the Muncy Grand Slam.
Right.
To cap it off.
Okay, let's do.
Call us today at 8.
Why don't you come back with that if you can, please? And then who is talking about Kershaw tonight? I'm sorry.
Dave Roberts.
Oh, Roberts. Got it. Yeah, let's. I'll throw to that. Awesome. Thank you.
Skechers Arch Fit shoes.
No, John, doesn't this look real, though? I mean, doesn't it look like I'm sitting right here in my living room? This is crazy, right? I love this one.
Skechers teamed up with podiatrists
my
who
favorite.
used over 20 years of data to create a shoe that provides total foot and arch support for all-day comfort. Arch Fit distributes support across the arch no matter what foot type you have. You don't need an arch problem to love how they feel.
See all the styles of machine washable Arch Fit shoes now at Skechers.com.
I owed the IRS $10,000.
The IRS garnished my wages.
They put a lien on my house. The IRS is the most powerful collection agency in the world. They do not give up until you pay.
All right, so you're good.
We were being audited. I called.
We've got Ryan. I don't. Do you have Ryan Ballinger's number, golf guy?
I think I should. Yeah.
Okay, and then McMullen at 12:40.
Okay, so Ballinger at this 11:40.
Yep.
And John next.
Yep.
Okay.
Know the
Thanks,
rules
bud.
can stop the pain.
No problem.
Best deal. We connect you with a team of former IRS agents and tax professionals who will get the IRS off your back.
We saved our home and overcame the most powerful collection agency in the world.
Call Tax Solutions now. Time is running out. Call 800-296-9744. 800-296-9744. 800-296-9744. 800-296-9744.
The pursuit is on. The pursuit of outperformance at PGIM, the investment management
Actually,
business of Prudential,
you know what?
with deep expertise to outthink across.
Let's
asset
hold
classes,
off
outsteer, actively
on.
managing investments in global.
Let's hold off on baseball just because this
with
Bell stuff
resources
is
to serve
new and it's
1,500 clients.
it's a gigantic trend right now.
Okay, yeah, maybe we hit the baseball next segment.
Next segment. That's fine. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
Join the pursuit of outperformance at pgim.com. That's pgim.com.
Scratching beneath the surface. It's the second level on the Sports Map Radio Network.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage.
That's great.
From the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, here's Eitan Shander.
Well, here's what I'm thankful for. And I know it's a little bit before the holiday in which a lot of people sit down and do that here in this country, but I'm thankful that I don't have to listen locally or have that discussion locally about Le'Veon Bell signing with the Philadelphia Eagles. It's down to 3 right now. It's down to 3 teams, and I cannot believe for the life of me that Le'Veon Bell would sign with the Dolphins unless the only opportunity he has to sign with the Dolphins is because no other team, including the 2 mentioned in Kansas City and Buffalo, would have him. Now, I don't see that as the case. I'm trying to think of 2 reasons right now, and we're live on the stream, twitch.tv/Shander Show, @Shander Show, where you can follow along, interact, do whatever you like. We have a phone number as well, 800-224-2004. And yes, if you were following earlier in the day, there is some gigantic news. We'll talk a little more about that, sprinkle it throughout today, and maybe even have a guest on tomorrow to talk about what you can expect from this show. The show's getting a little bit of a facelift, but like most work that's done, it's an improvement. And I could use as much physical improvement as possible, so I'm happy to get it. Now, with that said, Le'Veon Bell, Miami Dolphins, how does it make sense? First, it makes sense if you need another team. If the Bills and Chiefs alone, that's not enough to work with any type of leverage plan, and it's either dying or it just didn't work to what you wanted, you need a third team, right? You need that third team to throw in the mix there and say, well, you two need a little more. And if you don't get a little more, then it's kind of like, well, I'm going to go elsewhere. But there also needs to be a legit threat that you would go there. And I give Bell and the team credit that Miami, although is not where they want to be right now and still expecting Tua to take over and be that franchise quarterback, if in fact Bell were, let's say, to sign a longer deal that's guaranteed money and something that's incentivizing for him, then you could at least see Miami being more of a longer play. But even still, that's a tough bite in a burger right there, a bleep sandwich right there to accept after you were flirting with both the Bills and the Chiefs. It's like, well, my 3 options were, no, I don't even want to go down that line. I'll be called misogynist people. Cancel me, and you can't even make references about prom anymore. So I've only been to 1 prom anyway. So what do I know? Chiefs, Bills. How does it make sense with Miami? That's one way. The other way is this, and this is what I will thoroughly believe if, in fact, Le'Veon Bell signs with the Miami Dolphins, is that those other 2 teams were really never in play. And like the first option, you still needed some leverage. You still needed a little bit of leverage right now in order to squeeze some more dollars out of the lone team that's interested in you. Now, on the surface, just because we happen to know Andy Reid here in Philadelphia, and even with top running backs, even with guys who were really good, he incorporated other backs. Shady, before that, B. West. We've seen this where even if you have a workhorse bell cow running back with Andy Reid, you're going to find other guys to get touches. So just because they have a rookie phenom, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, coming in and doing some work, doesn't mean that they wouldn't sign Bell. Even as a complimentary, I think that's kind of moving away from it a little bit, but adding another element that you can run and throw to, for sure. Bills, that would be huge. Granted, they were dealing with some injuries in the backfield. The loss, if we even want to call it that, of Frank Gore, and trying to fix that with a rookie and another rookie. And now you add Bell, there's some stability back there. Doesn't mean that Singletary, like Edwards-Helaire, isn't going to touch the football anymore, but you add a really good weapon for a guy in Josh Allen who can really maximize these underneath and out of the backfield routes because of his ability to extend the play with his feet. Patrick Mahomes, you add an underneath threat like Le'Veon Bell to catch the football to that already existing offense. Think of it like this. From a productivity standpoint, Le'Veon Bell would probably replace Sammy Watkins as opposed to being some sort of complimentary running back. Not to say he'll get as many targets, but he'll get a lot of targets, and it will take the ease off of trying to do just that. But outside of nobody else wants them and they're just creating this situation and you need a third team to throw in for leverage, I don't see how, if you have the option, why wouldn't you go to Kansas City, even if it's for a short-term play, even if it's for just the rest of this season? Why wouldn't you go to Kansas City? Because let's think about it. Again, a couple of different avenues here. A couple of different areas where you can look at what Kansas City gets from Le'Veon Bell. And then more importantly here, why Bell would sacrifice a longer deal with Buffalo and, let's say, Miami to roll with the Chiefs for a year. Because you get to roll with the Chiefs for a year. Because you now have an offense. Think of this. You have a head coach. You have a quarterback. You have people around you that are going to maximize your abilities. Not because they want to see you shine somewhere else, not because they want to help you get this huge deal from another team, because they know that you're talented and that you can put them over the top. And basically, if you're healthy, which he is, we talked to Manish Mehta yesterday, who said, yeah, there's no issue with his health at all. So there's nothing else. The guy comes in, he's going to be touching the ball in the backfield. He's going to be thrown to a lot. All of a sudden, for the Chiefs, it makes too much sense. Now, for Bell, here's why it makes more sense than you may think, especially if there's more money, guaranteed money, even a longer-term deal here. And boy, Jake Asman has to be sick at this right now. And others who have foolishly chosen to root for a New York Jets team that never, ever, ever gives back. There was a time in your life, being a sports fan, as young as you may be. Now, it depends. Different bars are raised and set in different areas, but the Northeast is the same. Boston, New York City, Philadelphia, the three major cities that make up the true Northeast. You can add Baltimore. You can try and slide D.C. in there, Mid-Atlantic. Pittsburgh's got a foot in there. Allegheny County is its own planet, though, so they're a little weird. But we love Pittsburgh, of course. Actually, there really is good underrated food there. I know it's dominated by the stereotypes that surround it. Pierogies and that Permanis Brothers sandwich that's famous with the fries on it. But there's really good local food in Pittsburgh and really the surrounding Allegheny County. With that said, the Northeast, there was a time when you could successfully abort, where you could jump ship, and it was okay. Now, it might be 6, 7, 8 years old, 35 years old, or in like Jake's case with 23, 24 years old, too late. Especially if you are in the sports media and if you have a platform and you are a verified account on Twitter, you can't change teams now. That is the biggest exhibition of fraudulent behavior, fraud that you'll see. But if you're 6, 7, 8 years old, maybe you inch closer to 10, 5th grade, 6th grade, something along those lines. And you've come to realize that this team that you're rooting for is an abomination. This team that you're rooting for refuses to give back. And I grew up in New York City, Southern Connecticut. My uncle from 13th and Dickinson in South Philadelphia kidnapped me, brought me to Eagles games as a child. And although I was tempted many times over, living in a predominantly New York Giants area, both in, mind you, Connecticut and New York, the opportunities were there. The thing that kept me wasn't clearly winning Super Bowls. It wasn't this team was dominating and Buddy Ryan was the coach when I came up. So I was watching teams underachieve in the postseason. I was watching teams look really good, defenses look amazing, and rooting for Randall Cunningham and that amazing defense, led, of course, for a while by Reggie White. But it wasn't even that kept me. It was the atmosphere and the elements. It was going to a game and knowing that there was still this amazing amount of life and fire in the stands, despite what might happen at the end of the year. And there's just no way from a sustainable standpoint that a team, and it's not only, but a team like the Jets has given that to you over and over, year in and year out. You might get excited and it might be fun to go to a game or so, but there was no way any season ticket holder of the New York Jets can turn back around, look that organization in the face and say, thank you for giving back. Thank you. And I don't even mean a Super Bowl or any run like that. But if all you're holding your hat to is a couple of years with Rex Ryan and Mark Sanchez, that says everything. Half of your fan base can't even point Joe Namath out in a lineup. What are you talking about, Broadway Joe, right now? You are so far removed from any of that. And now you get to watch Le'Veon Bell pick and choose where he wants to go while you watch a football team that's still coached by Adam Gase. I hope there is somebody listening right now that is either 8, 9, 10 years old, thinking for themselves as a young adult, or pretty much like young adult, or a parent of a child who is 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, and you have inundated them incorrectly, I would add, as being a Jets fan. Now is the time to change that. And shame on you if you're from somewhere else and you've moved to the greater New York City area, that you've moved to, let's say, New Jersey, anywhere from Mahwah up, or you've moved from Connecticut, anywhere from like Hamden down. And now you've decided to take on the Jets as your football team and raise your children as Jets fans. Shame on you. How dare you do that to your children? Watching Le'Veon Bell pick and choose between really the Bills and the Chiefs, two teams that are making the playoffs, and probably in the Bills standpoint, definitely in the Chiefs standpoint, making a run for it. If you're Kansas City, you're sitting there thinking, really, this is our reward? Let's do it. If you're Buffalo, this is like every single gift-giving holiday all at once. If you were somehow able to straddle that line and celebrate every single gift-giving holiday that is celebrated in December at the same time. Yeah, I'll take a Christmas, a Kwanzaa, a Hanukkah, I'll take them all. That's what being a Bills fan this year is like. The team is beyond legit. You've got a quarterback that went from not being able to throw the football 8 yards to throwing it really well down the field, 20, 30 yards. You just lost to a good, really good football team, maybe one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the league, on the road on a weird week. And you have a division that has been marred by either incompetence, the bottom 2 teams, or COVID in the case of the Patriots. That's your reward, Le'Veon Bell. What's your reward right now as a Jets fan? Where is the reward right now? Hey, at least I got to see a Super Bowl in 2017. As miserable as it might have been, I got through the Chip Kelly years. All right. We all did here in Philadelphia. We got through the Chip Kelly years. It was some of the worst time to be a sports fan that I can remember. People were begging. You heard Manish Mehta mention Rich Kotite, Jets Rich Kotite. People were begging for Eagles Rich Kotite to come back in Philly during Chip Kelly. Kelly set the game back. He set the team back. He got rid of guys. Sound familiar? Adam Gase, Bill O'Brien. Moved on from guys and then was immediately moved on from. Conned the organization into power and control. And the reward was a Super Bowl. A couple of years later, Carson Wentz, hope. Doug Peterson, hope. Jim Schwartz, hope. And then all of a sudden that actualized into a Super Bowl. There's not even hope right now. The only hope that Jets fans and that team has is that they finish with the number 1 overall pick and drafts what seems to be the next huge thing in Trevor Lawrence. All right, we'll let you hear some sounds from last night. There's a pretty big baseball game tonight, and everybody seems to be on one side. At Shander Show on Twitter, twitch.tv/Shander Show, 800-224-2004. If you're a Jets fan out there, I'm going to give you a free pass. All right, here's what we'll do. If you're a Jets fan or you know a Jets fan out there, we'll give you a free pass today, 800-224-2004, where normally there would be a ton of scrutiny and backlash to the point in which you could not leave. You're locked in. You can't leave the fan base. Today, we are giving you 1 day. We're lifting it. It's a moratorium. You are allowed, but you have to call up and declare it here. Otherwise, it doesn't count. You can't do this on Twitter or Twitch. It's the second level on Sports Map Radio.
should some teams be allowed to have fans? And
We're on
others
an AC
can't
now,
have
so I
any?
wonder if that.
Talk about a disadvantage. I mean, it's that simple.
I wonder how that
Who
works.
wants to go to a Dolphin game anyway? They suck. They're not going to play Tua. They're going to suck anyway, like they always do. So who wants to go to a Dolphin game? Joe Ranieri knows they suck too. I wouldn't bet on him.
So you want the Dodgers this segment?
Yep, that's cool. Thank you.
The Jake Asman Show.
I created a firestorm in New York yesterday. By the way, Brian Costello, who I actually happen to like, he covers the Jets for the New York Post. He wrote a headline yesterday, "Get the Bell out of here." And then the mini headline at the bottom says, Le'Veon Bell isn't hiding his frustration. Again, liking post on Twitter, they should have mentioned @Jake Asman, that questioned his usage and suggested the Jets trade him. Before we blast Le'Veon Bell and call him a shell of his former self, why don't we get rid of the coach who doesn't know how to use him? Why don't we get rid of the coach that used Le'Veon Bell in the passing game for one target? Well, Jeff Smith gets 11 of them. So please, before we call Le'Veon Bell done and a diminished player, let's use him properly. Adam Gase is a joke, but please, let's blame Le'Veon Bell. I mean, good Lord. Can't do the Jets anymore. I'm done. They ruin my day every day. It really is amazing.
The Jake Asman Show, weekday mornings from 9 to 11 Eastern.
Are you thinking that it's time to start looking for a new car? Then go to automotivemap.com to see the latest auto news, find out about what's ahead for your favorite brands, and learn how much that new car will cost you. Automotivemap.com is your place to see reviews, check out the hottest exotic cars, read tales from the road, and get acquainted with the luxury automotive lifestyle. Into hot mods? Want to see the cars celebrities drive? Love a good restoration job? From off-roading to on-roading, automotivemap.com has it covered. Visit automotivemap.com today.
Pushing the odds with Matt Perrault.
With the president taking a victory lap and then listing the number of states that are going to play college football, you are being so transparent and you are exposing all of your minions in the media who have talked about get politics out of sports. I'm watching sports for a distraction. You're fine with the president doing this. You're not going to hear from them at all about the president getting involved in this topic. So that idea of separating sports, I don't want to hear it. They want it out when it's against them. And so the line between sports and politics is gone. I don't ever want to hear another thing about Black Lives Matter or a guy kneeling in the end zone that distracts you or whatnot, because that is gone. It's no longer a conversation. If you don't like that, okay, I'm sorry, but that's reality.
Pushing the odds with Matt Perrault, weekday afternoons from 1 to 4 Eastern.
You're listening to The Second Level on the SportsMap Radio Network.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage, home loans that fit your life. Rocket can.
From the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, with way more than the scores, here's Eitan Shander.
Here's a fly ball into right center field, back at the wall. It is gone. Grand slam. And the first inning is historic. 11 runs on the board for the Dodgers as they are just dropping bombs here in the first inning on the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah, I guess there was no actual question remaining after the first inning. We were talking about this yesterday coming into the show. Of course, Ron is a gigantic Dodgers fan. Dodgers have been bet down a little bit. They were pretty high earlier on the money line, but a lot of people have swung back and started betting on the Braves. And it's tough because you look at what happened in isolation last night, where this team finally got into a groove, and it was really early, and they took full advantage of the Braves, something that we just hadn't seen in 2 games. One of those games, mind you, was game 2, in which Clayton Kershaw was scratched for the back spasms and everything that comes with a Clayton Kershaw scratch performance, win, loss. There's just a constant conversation surrounding it. But if you look at specifically yesterday, then you would think, well, this is it. The Dodgers have turned the corner, 15-3. My goodness, the Braves just packed it in, and they did. And that's fine. When you're down big like that and you hear a grand slam that caps it off, what the hell are you going to do? It's not like this series is anywhere remotely close to over. You haven't even lost your lead. You just lost game 3. And set aside all of these trends and the numbers and the history of the winners of game 3 and all these other things. This is a unique season, truly unique season. And there is something about trying to squeeze in history, like what happens in a game 3 or game 5 scenario where the season has always been 1-6 or close to 162. And in this case, it's a complete departure from that. We're still in regular season mode for a lot of these guys. But that was huge, and it was needed. But remember, all they really needed to do to get back into this series was win that game. It doesn't mean that the Dodgers' work is done. And when you look at tonight, you still have the same conversation. You still have the same fear, the same concern. You still look at Clayton Kershaw and scratch your head and think, is he going to play really well and not get any run support? Is he going to pitch okay? Is he going to get rocked? And you're looking at these variables right now. Minus 220, the Dodgers are. That according to Caesars. Wow. Over 2-1 to roll the Atlanta Braves. That, again, is a convincing victory. Braves right now staring down 2 straight losses, sending Bryce Wilson to the mound. Now, look, Clayton Kershaw, we talked about Kershaw real quick. I want you to hear this cut from Dave Roberts about the confidence in Kershaw. But before you do, he's not going to come out and say, yeah, man, like, I don't really know what to think right now. This dude, he had back spasms. We had to scratch him. And you look at the history of this guy. What else am I going to do? Like, where else am I going to go? He's not going to say that. He's going to say the opposite, even if he doesn't believe it. But we still get a little vote of confidence from Roberts on Kershaw tonight.
I guess we'll all find out tomorrow, but I just, know that, if he's in a good place physically and he'll be prepared, so I like where we're at.
Yeah, he's got no choice. And I'm not holding him accountable for not coming out and being 100% transparent. That's probably the last thing you would want to do, right? If, in fact, the worst person you could be 100% transparent about before that guy takes the mound is Clayton Kershaw. You should not do anything remotely close to that. I don't care if that's all you know. All I am is transparent, 100%. That's all I do is just give out clear cut and yet honest responses. We're worried. This guy's got a lot on his shoulders. This is we cannot afford to go down. You didn't even hear that, right? Like, you didn't even hear unnecessary pressure. In fact, Sean, let me hear that one more time, please, because this is actually a really good cut by Roberts in the way in which to provide a pat on the back without pouring a ton of pressure all over his shoulders and Kershaw's.
I guess we'll all find out tomorrow, but I just, know that, if he's in a good place physically and he'll be prepared, so I like where we're at.
This is a must win. We have our backs to the wall. We can't afford to go down 3-1. That doesn't say anything bad about Clayton Kershaw, right? That's not anything negative at all. You're not saying anything remotely close to a negative statement that regards Kershaw. What you're doing, though, is you're putting so much pressure, added, maybe not even unnecessary, but added pressure on Kershaw before one of the biggest starts that he's had in a while. That is counterproductive, much like coming out and being honest and saying, yeah, guys, I don't really know. What do you think? Like turning it around, one of those. I don't know. What do you think? You could go full tilt. Like you could go the opposite way and put too much on the guy and put too much on his plate, too much on his shoulders, have him thinking out of his own head. That's a bad move right there. Roberts played it right down the middle, played it well. Speaking of right down the middle, we'll talk some golf with Ballingy next.
Jay Farner here, CEO of Rocket Mortgage. Making the right financial decisions has never been more important. When you turn to Rocket Mortgage, we can help guide you to those right decisions now when they matter most. Mortgage rates are near historic lows, so now is a great time to call 8338-ROCKET. And if you need some extra money, a cash-out refinance could give you that financial boost you're looking for. Call today at 8338-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com to learn more.
Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License
200 by
NMLS number
200.
3030.
This is time that matters. A window of time to help protect the ones you love. Your preteen benefits from staying up to date with their well visits. This is your window of protection. Schedule their well visit now. Brought to you by Merck.
Every 2 minutes, a woman in the U.S. is diagnosed with breast cancer. And in that moment in time, her life changes forever. We're fighting alongside patients because we know one moment can change a lifetime.
Hi, I'm Brooke Burke. Do you ever consider just how important your feet are? They're quite literally the foundation of your body. And if you don't take care of them, you're asking for problems. That's why I wear Skechers' new Arch Fit shoes. Skechers teamed up with podiatrists to make a shoe that provides total foot and arch support. They use 20 years of data to design a podiatrist-certified insole that distributes support across the arch no matter what foot type you have, providing extreme comfort. Get Skechers' new Arch Fit at a Skechers store near you. Skechers.com or wherever stylish.
ESG is responsible investing. Who's responsible for building ESG into your investments? At PGIM, the pursuit is on for outperformance. To out-deliver with customized strategies, integrating ESG best practices into our investment decisions as asset managers and fiduciaries to outserve with our commitment to better ESG outcomes. Join the pursuit of outperformance
That
at
looks pretty
PGIM,
good.
the investment management business of Prudential. Learn more at pgim.com.
Election Day is November 3rd. If you plan to vote by mail, plan ahead at usps.com/votinginfo. There, you will find helpful resources, such as guidance for successfully using the mail, links to find your state's rules and deadlines, information for military and overseas voters, and more. The U.S. Postal Service is ready to deliver for you. Make sure you're ready too. Start today at usps.com/votinginfo.
What's hot for business this week at Staples?
Small prices, big savings.
Get ready to go big this holiday season with everything your business needs at amazing prices.
From shipping supplies and services to custom signs and PPE supplies.
At Staples,
Great.
save up to 30% on all shipping supplies with 12-pack mailers as low as $7.
Shop in-store or pick up curbside.
Save big for your business this week at Staples.
Ends 12/26 while supplies last. In-store only. Curbside available in most stores.
Scratching beneath the surface. It's the second level on the SportsMap Radio Network.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage.
From the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, here's Eitan Shander.
All right, well, we're still getting ready, a couple weeks away for a gigantic Masters, one that is going to hold a lot of weight, especially based on how this year has gone, not just in the world of golf, but just this entire year, not just in the world of sports, but everything. So it's our pleasure to bring back, as he's joining us on a weekly basis, and we're thankful for that. Now, we didn't want to step on Matt Peralt's toes yesterday. He'd get upset, and then next thing I know, I'm getting emails. And that's the great Ryan Ballingy, of course, at Ryan Ballingy on Twitter. Golf Newsnet, thegolfnewsnet.com is the site, and then at Golf Newsnet on Twitter. And, of course, you should be signed up for The Break, which is the daily newsletter that comes out courtesy of Ryan and thegolfnewsnet.com. What's going on, brother?
Oh, not a whole lot. Thanks for having me on.
Well, we appreciate you not taking the month off before the Masters like Bryson is ahead of time.
I hope not to gain as much weight as he plans on gaining, especially in the next month too.
Is that like, you know, I will take anything you say right now as gospel when it comes to Bryson. So is he actually planning on putting on more weight?
That is what he has said. He has said he's going to get a little bit bulkier, and he's been working on trying to move into a 48-inch driver shaft, which is the longest allow driver shaft under the equipment rules of golf, meaning he's going to try to basically swing faster and get more out of it with a longer driver shaft in the next month.
I'm just amazed by this. Is this a good idea? And I ask you this based on how he's been playing, not just like, oh, he's an idiot, but like, seriously, is this a good idea in your opinion?
I mean, if it works, it's a great idea.
Well, it's also golf. Nothing works for a while in this sport.
Nothing lasts forever. That's for certain. And I think the question mark for him is, and he's figuring this out now, is can he find a 48-inch shaft that will hold up stability-wise with his swing speed? Because that's kind of the challenge long drivers have, the guys that do long drive competitions. This is basically what he's trying to set up, the maximum length long drive shaft, and trying to get the spin right, trying to get the launch conditions right, so that he can bang it as far and as reasonably straight as possible at Augusta National, and just try to turn literally every hole into a driver wedge. And if he can do that and successful over the next month, then I can't see why he won't dominate. I mean, as long as he putts okay, that's always the variable in golf. You can be amazing for Peter Green, putt like crap, but if he can just make it so easy that basically every par 5 is a guaranteed birdie, then he's only got to play the rest of the course in even par, basically 1 over par, and he's going to win probably without a whole lot of problem.
Yeah, that's, I guess, why he's still slated at least by 200 points from where I see as the odds-on favorite to win this. And it's crazy because I feel like we've been talking about golfers, maybe not better golfers, Ryan, but golfers who have clearly been playing better or more consistent than Bryson has over the past 4 or 5 months. Do you like his odds after you laid out what he could do and how it could be successful? Do you like him at plus 800 as the odds-on favorite?
I guess my struggle with him is wedge play and putting. I mean, he was brilliant at both at the U.S. Open. That's why he won. The driving, he wasn't the longest guy in the field. There's Matt Wolff, there's Dustin Johnson, there's Tony. There are other guys who are just as long. We just don't talk about them as much because they don't kind of spew out the science garbage that comes out that's really not pertinent. But what Bryson did so well was he hit his wedges high from rough. He stopped them exactly where they needed to go to either trundle on greens or put them in tough position to make birdies and eagles. And then he made those birdies and eagles. That's not necessarily going to happen at Augusta National. I mean, the greens are probably as quick, probably a little bit quicker probably than what we saw at Winged Foot. And he is the first to admit he is not the best wedge player in the universe. That's the point of doing all the stuff from tee to green with the driving, is that you just take less, you have a less variability. You're trying to put yourself with a wedge in your hand so that your worst shot with a wedge is not as nearly as bad as your worst shot with a 7-iron, for example. So, I mean, it's hard to say like he's going to putt lights out of the Augusta. I haven't seen him do that yet, and it's not like getting bigger has made him better at that. I guess that's my question mark for him, is can he putt and chip that well? I don't know if he can. I don't know if I could justify plus 800 for him.
Well, you mentioned Dustin Johnson, and we're about a month away, so we'll lead up and sprinkle in a couple of golfers each week and kind of get your thoughts on them before the big one that will go full on and preview the Masters. But I am curious, what is the latest that you've heard on DJ? He had to back out of the tournament this weekend in Vegas after testing positive for COVID.
I haven't heard anything in the last couple of days. Seems like there's been some relative silence. I mean, I think we know from Tony Finau pulling out this week after pulling out last week with a positive COVID test, this is probably not going to be a 1 week thing. So he probably will not play next week at Sherwood, or at Sherwood he probably won't play. But I guess that hampers his preparation a little bit. I guess it depends on how bad it is. I mean, there's some guys like Denny McCarthy who had it relatively early on in the pandemic, and he pulled out of Travelers having it, and then he came back a couple weeks later and played pretty well and just kind of resumed things where he was as the best putter on the PGA Tour. So, and he put up a couple good finishes in the fall. So I'm kind of assuming right now, for all intents and purposes, that there shouldn't be a problem with DJ playing the Masters. He should recover with plenty of time for that. And then I guess if word trickles out that it's, maybe it's a particularly bad case, which again, don't expect that, but if it is, then you kind of have to adjust your expectations for the Masters, I think, accordingly. But at least right now, I've not heard anything to suggest anything other than it's either a mild case or an asymptomatic case.
Ryan Ballingy joining us at Ryan Ballingy on Twitter, thegolfnewsnet.com, at golfnewsnet on Twitter. I'm curious, and actually got somebody on Twitch weighing in as well, because we're live on the stream. So you are heard throughout and seen, your bio and pick seen throughout the Twitchverse as well, twitch.tv/Shander Show. John from Abington actually asked this and wanted to know, and I was thinking this because you've talked about how kind of shaky, maybe even literally, Brooks is right now, dealing with injury and trying to go back and forth and either shut it down or be ready to play for the Masters. So how do you feel about Brooks Koepka as of now coming back?
I mean, the positive talk is good to hear. It sounds like he did platelet-rich plasma therapy on his knee to try to get it in a better position going into the Masters. I guess we just kind of have to see how he does rep-wise. I mean, we haven't seen him play competitive golf in 2 months. At least to get a little semblance of that this week is I've kind of said my theory of the case this week about Shadow Creek is that because of the Tom Fazio design, he was the architect. He's also been so instrumental in shaping Augusta National and the work they've done in the last 20 years or so. I think that if you play well this week, this is going to be a fairly good indication of how well you're going to play at the Masters or what kind of form you're in for the Masters. So I think this is going to be a good little measuring post for Brooks. But I mean, I was just doing some calculations today, being the nerd that I am, trying to look at consistency from tee to green, basically what your variance is in terms of what your average is from tee to green in the last 40, 50 PGA Tour events or so. And Brooks Koepka has one of the lowest variances of anybody on the PGA Tour. And he has one of the highest measures of average strokes gained per round tee to green. So, yeah, it might seem like he hasn't played well the last few months prior to the 2 months off because he was struggling. But even still, including all of those poor tournaments, he still has some of the lowest variance from tee to green, which is that measure we want to see. I mean, putts come and go. You have form putting or not. But if you are a strong player from tee to green, and my theory is if you don't deviate from that average very often, and Brooks doesn't, then you're going to set yourself up to do really well in pretty much every tournament, particularly the majors, where getting those strokes gained tee to green are really going to set you up for success.
So not only do you know the game and the golfers that play at the highest level on tour, but you also play at a really high level scratch golfer. You know the nuances of the same course that could change over the time period of 6 weeks or 8 weeks. How much is not even the weather, but how much is the climate changing going to impact the Masters this year, which is normally held in early April, now in November?
I think it'll be somewhat of an analog. I think there'll be some relative comparison. Looks like the average daily high in April is a little bit warmer than what we're going to expect in about a month's time for the Masters in November. Obviously, the conditions will be a little bit different because spring is thawing out. November is getting colder, getting harder and firmer. But with the sub-air system they have underneath the greens at Augusta National, they can kind of play with the moisture on the greens to get it to feel as much like April as humanly possible. I think the difference might be between, in fairways and basically the playing ways between tee and green, because they don't have sub-air for that, so they're not going to be able to do it. So I think if you get a cold morning, in the November Masters, then the ball might not necessarily fly as far, but it's going to roll farther, even with the mowing patterns where they try to discourage roll because they want to mow it into the tee boxes. But I don't think that they can stop that with a good, well-struck shot into a more firm fairway. So I think what we saw at the U.S. Open was, because it's normally played in June and they moved it to September, there was a big difference in the conditions you would have expected at Winged Foot. Really hot, really dried out, firm and fast in June versus what they were able to do in September. I think it's going to be more similar between April and November at Augusta National because the climate will be similar, and sometimes you get a cold morning in April. I assume we're going to get a couple in November. So I would anticipate them being pretty similar.
I'm curious. There's a pretty cool thing coming up, and I assume that there are others that look at this as a good thing, especially as we know how you and I, at least on a weekly basis, constantly reference odds and who to bet on, and even from a fantasy element of who maybe to play in a weekly tournament. So BetMGM odds will be fully integrated now on the PGA Tour, and it's going to be this week at Shadow Creek that has all the live odds for the first time. I would think this is a pretty cool idea. I'm curious to get your thoughts on it, and also after, if there's been much resistance to this.
I think it's a really cool idea. I think this is a good time to try it too. Obviously, Shadow Creek is an MGM property. That all kind of lines up pretty well with the sponsor integration. I think we're going to have to see a balancing point between showing all of this data to every golf fan versus showing it to the traditionalist fans who maybe don't want to see as much data, odds, whatever. They're kind of more feel-based. They're just there to watch the sport. They're not maybe as either analytics or betting-minded as maybe we are. So they're going to have to figure that out. This week, hopefully, will be a good test for that. And they'll probably do it a few more times in events where there frankly, aren't as many people watching. And then they'll figure out what to do moving forward. But I think just like we have host courses, just like we have presenting sponsors, just like we have TV partners each week, I think we're eventually going to have kind of recognized sportsbook partners that will have the live odds for certain weeks. So NBC's with PointsBet, they're going to own a portion of the company eventually in a few years, it seems like. Well, as much as a quarter of it eventually. So what they can do is when the NBC telecasts are on in the select parts of the year, it'll be PointsBet live odds. Maybe CBS says, you know what, we'll split up half the schedule and we'll do MGM some weeks and we'll do DraftKings Sportsbook some weeks. I think that's going to be something the PGA Tour monetizes by allowing these books to have their name on the live odds for a particular week. But I think this is the start of something that's going to be more prevalent each and every week. It's not going to be just this one-off thing.
Awesome, Ryan. Thanks as always, brother. Appreciate you, and we'll chat again next week for sure.
Thanks, Ethan. Appreciate it.
You got it. Ryan Ballengee at Ryan Ballengee on Twitter. We'll wrap the hour next.
Imagine learning about radio and being mentored by.
Yeah, I think the.
So I think it's something. Here's what's crazy,
If
Sean.
there's Radio Connection.
Is that
Radio Connection gives you the opportunity.
yes? It
to learn
comes
one-on-one
through
and be mentored by
off.
radio
Everything
pros.
on the stream
Plus,
is
you
being
don't have
fed
to worry
from
about
my
getting into
Comrex.
a crazy amount
So
of debt.
nothing
It's no
peaks
tuition
except
either.
the guest.
Radio Connection keeps their tuition
Like if
much
you're listening to
lower
Twitch
cost.
right now,
To find out more
commercials
info,
sound
visit
fine. When you jump on the air,
radioconnection.com.
you sound fine. The only thing that peaks is the phone.
That might be something with the actual telco line.
I think so. I don't know.
Comeback Player of the Year. In different studios, the different lines kind of behave a little bit differently.
Yeah, isn't that strange? Because I wonder. So we're on in 1490 in Atlantic City, and I just
Oh my God!
texted the
I was like, Aaron, what are
PD.
you doing?
Well, not PD, but the number one local host down there
I'm feeling good
to see if
right
he's in
now.
the
We're
studio.
all, as a country, we're coming together on the return of Alex Smith.
I'm just
and
curious
Aaron
how it
Donald decided
sounds
to play
coming out
tackle
over the air,
football
because I know from
and
you
almost
guys,
knocked him out.
like
Is he
sending it,
bragging? I
you
put my
wouldn't
kid on
hear
my
it.
back. I'm like,
Yeah, it sounds good in my headphones and it sounds good on the SML, but I don't know.
So you heard the difference in your headphones versus
Yeah.
on Twitch.
Yes.
Tony D and
It just peaks more. It has a lower threshold of whatever the levels is on Twitch or something.
Yeah, but hold on a second.
From the board to your Comrex to the Twitch, it amplifies only the guest, maybe.
track down the
Yeah.
Utah
All
runner.
I did was Google Cougar and then just went to news. Yeah, I felt safe there. If you go Cougar
Let me see if
Bomb,
Peralt-
don't hit images.
Wake Up Call with Tony D and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings from 7 to 9 Eastern.
The second level.
Look, the only thing I'm really disappointed in right now is that Tampa Bay is good in sports. That's just so bad for the rest of the country. Nobody cares about the Tampa Bay Lightning. Nobody cares about the Tampa Bay Rays. It took Tom Brady
to go to the Buccaneers just to get some pub. And if that team starts to fizzle, guess what? It will just be about Brady and the mistake that he made. My goodness, it's nothing personal. Tampa is a great place to live, but there's just something about
What's up,
Tampa
Schultz?
Bay teams that are off-putting. I don't know if it's
Everybody's your
Tampa,
guy.
But Tampa
You and
equals
Dan
boring.
Schwartzman. You guys know everybody. Don't
too
worry,
much
Jake
of a- I'm
Asman
gonna
is
get
going to
in
be the
trouble
next
for
Schultz
saying
slash
that. Is
Schwartz.
that an offensive? And people are going to cancel me now because I said that. Tampa Bay equals boring in sports.
The second level with Eitan Shander, weekdays from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern.
Scratching beneath the surface. It's the second level on the SportsMap Radio Network.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage.
From the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, here's Eitan Shander.
Second hour, we will have the Sean Mapes version of fake news. In fact, we'll probably just call it real news. So whenever you're in, because you seem to be the guy they go to, maybe just because you're the only one who wants to work with me, which is fine. I totally get that. Culver is definitely sleeping off a hangover. Was he in early this morning?
No, he's
Thank you.
Traveling.
No, don't believe that. That's misinformation. All right, that would get flagged on Twitter. That reason. He knew exactly what was going to happen. He put a lot of money on the Dodgers. He sat there and he cracked open a beer or maybe a bottle of gin, and he just started drinking, not to excuse away the pain or the misery, Sean, but to celebrate the fact that now his baseball team was back at it. So he got major lit and knew ahead of time, and this is where I'll give him credit, he knew ahead of time that he would be so banged up the next morning, he might as well just call out.
Well, to be fair to Ron, the Dodgers were already up 11-0 at like 5 p.m. here in Houston. So,
Well, yeah, that's what I mean, is he was banged out, belligerent, drunk by 7 o'clock your time. 7 o'clock your time, that game was over or close to it. Right?
yeah, I mean, honestly, I saw the score in the first inning. I was like, okay, cool. I don't have to watch it.
Well, yeah, and if you were a Dodgers fan, you would be blacked out belligerent by the ninth inning. Is that fair?
I'd be blackout drunk if I was a Braves fan by the second inning.
Yes. Either way, you're calling out of work the next day. Oh, that's great. Give me 1 minute, my friend. I will be right back.
The Jake Asman Show.
You know, in baseball, there's a thing called the managers trying to steal outs. Like maybe you send a reliever out there for an extra at bat or two, and you just hope that he could steal an out or two before you got to make a pitching change. I tried to steal a bite or two as we were trying to come back from the commercial break. It didn't work because now I need some water, but I still have a couple minutes left before I can take a water break. So it didn't work.
The Jake Asman Show, weekday mornings from 9 to 11 Eastern.
Pushing the odds with Matt Perrault.
The Red Sox and the Yankees rivalry is gone. The Cubs and the Cardinals rivalry is boring. What is the rivalry right now in baseball? This is what baseball needs. If Machado's going to lead this, the Dodgers with Betts, Bellinger, the history of the two cities, the history of the two franchises, I mean, it's 2003, 2004, all over again. The one thing about this pandemic, it has really exposed a lot of baseball fans to how good that Padres team is going to be. They need some pieces in the future that the hope is that, hey, things will go well and that they'll get pitching, they'll stay healthy, and the Padres will be a team to be reckoned with for many, many years to come. And look, sign me up. Sign me up for 3 or 4 years of Dodgers-Padres wars. I'm all in, all in on that potential. I very much hope that we see it.
Pushing the odds with Matt Perrault, weekday afternoons from 1 to 4 Eastern.
Coast to coast. Why should some teams be allowed to have fans and other teams can't have any? You talk about a disadvantage. I mean, it's that simple. Plus, who wants to go to a Dolphin game anyway? They suck. They're not going to play Tua. They're going to suck anyway like they always do. So who wants to go to a Dolphin game? Joe Ranieri knows they suck too. I wouldn't bet on him if it hit me in the head.
Farrell Coast to Coast with Scott Farrell. Weekdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern.
Wake up call. You ever had a buddy that like dated a lot and then was like, "This is the girl. This is the girl," and you're like, "No, it isn't. This is gonna fall apart. Like I'm waiting for the day you call me to tell me you're done with her." That's Atlanta. Like no Falcon fan goes, "This is it. This is the one." They're like, "Nah, this is gonna end up terrible." I don't care. What are we up? What are we up? 19, 16? It doesn't matter. It's going to end badly.
The only difference is this is your buddy who's been engaged 3 times to 3 different women.
Exactly. Gone registered at the store, right? Picked out a venue, talked to maybe getting a singer and a photographer, and then canceling the wedding. That's the Falcons.
That's the Falcons.
That's the Falcons. Getting right up to wedding time, and then, this isn't going to work out for us. I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry you paid money to come and rent a tux or show up to and bought us a gift, but we're not getting hitched.
Just left
That's
standing
the Falcons.
at the altar.
That's right. That's the Falcons, you pathetic football team.
Wake up call with Tony D and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings from 7 to 9 Eastern.
Are you thinking that it's time to start looking for a new car? Then go to automotivemap.com to see the latest auto news, find out about what's ahead for your favorite brands, and learn how much that new car will cost you. Automotivemap.com is your place to see reviews, check out the hottest exotic cars, read tales from the road, and get acquainted with the luxury automotive lifestyle. Into hot mods? Want to see the cars celebrities drive? Love a good restoration job? From off-roading to on-roading, automotivemap.com has it covered. Visit automotivemap.com today. Are you thinking that it's time to start looking for a new car? Then go to automotivemap.com to see the latest auto news, find out about what's ahead for your favorite brands, and learn how much that new car will cost you. Automotivemap.com is your place to see reviews, check out the hottest exotic cars, read tales from the road, and get acquainted with the luxury automotive lifestyle. Into hot mods? Want to see the cars celebrities drive? Love a good restoration job? From off-roading to on-roading, automotivemap.com has it covered. Visit automotivemap.com today.
Pushing the odds with Matt Perrault.
So, Jose, I got a question for you. If somebody says, Matt, this is the first time I've ever seen you, because they're watching the live stream, you're not what I thought you looked like.
Oh, boy.
How do you take that?
I would take it as an insult.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Because that means before they saw you, they thought you were hideous.
I wrote back to the person like, so how am I supposed to take that exactly? You're not what I thought you would look like. And they're trying to cover it by saying, I figured you were older with that voice. What does that mean? They thought I was older than I am.
You don't have an old man voice. I don't buy that.
I'm 43 years old. Like, how old am I supposed to sound? Like, I don't sound like I'm a kid. Who has an old voice? Like Mr. Burns? Like, the line was, hey, Matt, first time I actually see what you look like. Wasn't my visual! Exclamation point. and then I wrote back, so how do I take that? And the person said, oh, it's all good. I figured you were a lot older with that voice.
Pushing the odds with Matt Perrault. Weekday afternoons from 1 to 4 Eastern.
The second level.
Like not even DK Metcalf going full Leon Lett was a bigger blunder than what Doug Peterson did as far as not going for it, as far as not attempting anything. I honestly can't think of a bigger mental blunder from player or coach yesterday across the NFL than what Doug Peterson.
Chris might come over real quick to look at the
from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern.
Ace is outside.
Jay Farner here, CEO
Ace
of
is
Rocket
outside.
Mortgage. Making the right financial decisions has never been more important.
Nothing,
When you turn
just
to Rocket
about to
Mortgage,
get back
we
on.
can
You
help
right?
guide you to those right decisions now when they matter most. Mortgage rates are near historic lows, so now is a great time to call 833.
Are you going for a walk?
And if you need some extra money, a cash out refinance
Okay.
could give you that financial boost you're looking for. Call today at 8338-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com to learn more.
Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
This is a Gow Media property in partnership with Jacob Media.
Set your system's volume control for slightly above the normal listening level.
Let's go. Second level thinking is defined as looking beyond the easy, obvious conclusions.
You got to do some smart.
All right, so
Welcome to the second level. On the
I'm going to listen in the
Sportsnet
break
Radio
to
Network,
Perrault,
a show
see
where
how
we
it
go
sounds
beyond the
when he had
box
Ballingy on the phone.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage.
Weird, isn't it?
Home loans that fit. Rocket can.
Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, here's Eitan Shander.
Well, this is news. Anthony Davis opting out to re-sign with that same team is not news. There's nothing newsworthy about that. It's exactly what we all thought was going to happen. He's going to get a bigger contract and all the other things that come with opting out in order to re-sign with a team that he just won a championship with. And so long as LeBron James is there, the Lakers are set. Set that aside. That's not news. That's just, hey, this is something going on right now. The NBA is over. Let's find something to talk about in NBA circles on Twitter. This is news. According to Woj, ESPN sources, Houston Rockets general manager Daryl Morey is stepping down. That's it for Daryl. 13 years as a general manager. And if you look at the ups and downs of Houston, and knowing, of course, that you had one of the most talented players, at least from an offensive standpoint, that this game has really seen in a long time, then you would think, all right, what have you accomplished? What is there to hang your hat on? And I would ask that question and maybe even pose it on Twitter here. The Rockets are in a major crossroads right now because you still have talent on that basketball team that you should be in the playoffs and pushing. But without a coach, general manager, real direction with this organization, what are you going to do if you're James Harden right now? I mean, what are you going to do if you are the face of that franchise and the organization is clearly without direction? Unless you have convinced, and I don't even think it's that much of a convincing here, the rest of the organization, if you're James Harden, to have a little more control over all of this. But it begs the question. You need to replace a general manager, a head coach. There's a lot of things that need to go on with this Rockets team that just always seems to fall short. They're not Clippers bad in falling short, but they're close to it. Wow. Now that's news. From Le'Veon to Daryl, we've got off the field, off the court stuff.
Hi, this is Jay Farner, CEO of Rocket Mortgage. Making the right...
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's...
guide you to those right...
I'm still in shock.
That he's out?
Or near his...
Yeah, because I thought he was out with the Hong Kong stuff. And then it just kind of quieted down. And then he was interviewing Jeff Van Gundy like today or yesterday.
Right.
0.43.
Wow. Eli Wittes to
It could
assistant
be a great
general
time
manager.
for you to take some positive financial steps forward with a cash-out refinance from Rocket Mortgage, which could give you the boost that you're looking for. In addition, we may be able to help you refinance with little or no out-of-pocket costs. At Rocket Mortgage, we're committed to every client, every time, no exceptions, no excuses, giving you the best mortgage experience. Call us today at 8338-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com to learn more.
Rates subject to change. A 2.875% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 30.
The real news is that 24 or 25, that's ish segment, right?
Yes.
Worry about.
Okay.
Coccal pneumonia shouldn't be one of them. Even healthy adults, 65 and older, are at increased risk for this potentially serious bacterial lung disease that can disrupt your life for weeks. Help protect yourself with the Prevnar 13 pneumococcal 13-valent conjugate vaccine, diphtheria CRM 197 protein. Prevnar 13 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 13 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Prevnar 13 does not protect against all strains of the disease. Don't get Prevnar 13 if you have had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with a weakened immune system may have a lower response to the vaccine. The most commonly reported side effect was pain at the injection site. For additional common side effects and full prescribing information, please call 1-866-694-9300 or visit Prevnar13.com. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 13.
Change is constant. That's why with Fidelity Wealth Management, your dedicated advisor will work with you to create a personalized plan for your full financial picture. One that can be adjusted as your needs change to help you stay on target. Plus, they can let you know what you're paying for and why. Learn more
All right,
at
how much time do we have?
fidelity.com/wealth. Investment minimum.
A little bit more than 30.
Okay.
LC.
See if I can get to 40.
Today, everyone is expecting you to maintain a new level of clean, from customers and employees to students and staff. Cintas has the essential products and services to help you carry out cleaning protocols effectively. We'll keep you well stocked with cleaning supplies, professionally laundered uniforms, and other essentials like face masks, hand sanitizer, and thermometers. Give everyone the confidence they need to keep coming back. Visit Cintas.com and get ready for the workday.
It's not clipping at all for Matt. And again, it's the only thing that's clipping.
Scratching beneath the surface. It's the second level on the SportsMap Radio Network.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage.
From the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, here's Eitan Shander.
No Thursday night football tonight. We've got a baseball game to watch and see if, in fact, well, two technically, if you're still paying attention to that Rays Astros thing. Big news, though. Daryl Morey is out, stepping down. Now, he's still going to be in an advisory role. Looks like they're going to bump up the assistant GM to the general manager in Stone, but you have a lot of chaos here, and still there's a lot of discussion about Morey's tweet regarding basic human rights for people fighting for that in Hong Kong. And, of course, we know that China wasn't happy with it, and that led to this whole thing making the league political and politicizing the NBA moving forward. I mean, if you really want to look at ground zero, it wasn't what happened in the NBA bubble. It was set in stone by Daryl Morey's tweet and then the subsequent reaction to it. And it's unfortunate, but it might be a major part of his legacy now following that tweet and most recently the departure. And knowing that the NBA lost a lot of money as a result of China and this ban that I guess was just recently lifted for the finals. But now, at least if you're Houston, you have to create, and I think that's probably going to be more difficult than not, but create this illusion or try to hammer home this reality that you are not a team in chaos or about to be in chaos. Just because you lost to the best team in the NBA, just because you lose to the eventual champions, especially in the NBA, you can't judge it like any other sport. There's only going to be like two teams that are really going to win it over the span of 3-4 years. And we see that. It's the Warriors and any team that LeBron James is playing on. Every now and again, you get the anomaly stuffed in there like, oh, what happened to Kawhi Leonard? Yeah, Kawhi Leonard, that 1 year in Toronto, or that 1 year where Doc and the trio in Boston was able to do it. Every now and again, you get one that pops in. Don't make no mistake about that. Don't overlook it. But in the case of today, the news that comes out with Morey, then you probably should, at the very least, factor in the tweet, but mainly what he was able to do with that team. And this is where it gets difficult. 8 straight years of making the playoffs is something. And before you look at it like, well, it's nothing because they didn't win anything in the postseason, that was the longest streak in the NBA. So Morey was the GM responsible for a team that had the longest streak. And I'm not defending him saying that he shouldn't have stepped down or anything like that. What I am saying is that there are factors involved in looking at a person's legacy and reducing it down to a tweet or reducing it down to, well, did he win everything? Did they win it all? If you reduce in the NBA somebody's legacy or somebody's impact on whether or not they win a championship, then you pretty much write off about 94 or 95% of the league, no matter what year it is. And I don't know why people don't get that about the NBA. We're going to have a full slate of football. We are going to have a gigantic slate right now of football coming up. And if you look at the NFL, you should gauge more on did you win? Even though, like the NBA and some other sports, you can reduce some of the victories to like one team. Remember that tandem up in New England that no longer exists? They seem to always be there. And then every now and again, you get a team that comes in. Eagles that 1 year, clearly a one-hit wonder in 2017. I can admit that now. The NBA, on the other hand, is just so 1% as far as who legit has a shot to win. And Daryl Morey should not be reduced, his career there to whether or not they won it all. Now, again, reduced is different than factored in. There definitely should be a big conversation about how Daryl Morey and the Houston Rockets came up short, and if, in fact, a change in direction is going to help that. You still need to replace Mike D'Antoni. You still need to find somebody who can come in and do a better job coaching this basketball team than previously before. So, yeah, I feel like the conversation will be shifted from Politico Twitter that just wants to harp on, well, the NBA, nobody's watching it because of China or because of LeBron James' message on his T-shirt. And you're also going to find people that are NBA, but more like NBA snobs who will just reduce everything to, well, he didn't win it. I would start listening to Rockets fans first and foremost. Now, Sean, you are from Houston, correct?
That is correct.
So, unlike Culver, who has carpet-bagged his way from L.A., a little stop in San Diego, down to Houston, who cannot claim to truly be part. He can claim to know, but he can't truly be part of the pulse of the city when it comes to the Houston Rockets. That's a little different, right? What was your immediate reaction as a fan, a lifelong fan of the Houston Rockets, to the general manager calling it quits today?
It's really surprising. I mean, there was always kind of rumblings that, hey, this might not be a long-term relationship with him and Tillman Fertitta, but to happen just kind of out of nowhere like this, it is surprising. And for him to be the one stepping down, not it being a dismissal from the organization, that's also surprising. But there's a lot of stuff I imagine the next 6 months to a year that we're going to find out about the Tillman Fertitta, Daryl Morey era Houston Rockets.
Yeah. You think Moore's going to be out?
Yeah, I think because Morey's a guy that has a lot of friends in the media as it is.
Okay.
And so I think his side of the story is going to be told. According to Woj, I think you mentioned it, he's staying with the organization.
Yes, as an advisor until they find somebody beyond Stone that can come in and help as well.
Yeah,
maybe the head coach too.
That's a little bit awkward. I wonder how that's actually going to work. Apparently, he's going to help with the coaching search. This is all. Tillman Fertitta is just putting on a masterclass of how to not run an NBA team, how to fail at running an NBA team. He bought the team. He bought the Rockets coming after the 2018 postseason, where they were everyone knows, a Chris Paul hamstring away from maybe beating the Warriors and winning a championship. So Tillman Fertitta has bought at an all-time high and has driven down this team.
That's crazy, man. Did you think that you would be here at the start of the season with Russell, with Harden?
I knew the Russell deal isn't a Morey deal. That's more of a Tillman and James Harden.
No. I'm saying, did you think that you would be here with the talent assembled and the team that was there, and knowing that you had at the very least a competent, maybe not great, but competent coach? Mm-hmm. Did you think that we would be here a week after the finals ended talking about a new general manager?
I thought there's always a chance.
Okay.
To be honest, it's more of but it was never an on the court thing with Daryl Morey and his job security. It was more of an off the court, how he deals with the new ownership.
Okay.
That was always the where the friction was, because like you said, 8 straight playoffs. They haven't missed the playoffs since making the James Harden trade. I mean,
that's
you can't really argue with that.
No,
2018.
You're right.
Putting together a great team that went 7 games. The only team to push a healthy Golden State Warriors to 7 games with Kevin Durant. So you can't really remark on the court thing. And this season, even, was it disappointing that they lose to the Lakers? And it really isn't. It's just the way they lost is disappointing. Losing in 5, you hope they wouldn't go out with a whimper like that. But I mean, if they actually beat the Lakers, it would have been an upset.
Right. That would have been a gigantic upset, and he would have been locked in.
Yeah, that was the thing. Everyone loves to take a victory lap after the Rockets lose, like you're saying, where the standard for the Rockets is if you don't win a championship, you stink. and everyone's proven right about you. But at the end of the day, it's like, they lost to a team with LeBron and Anthony Davis, and their tallest player is 6'7".
Right.
What
It's
were we
crazy.
thinking?
No, it's crazy. You're right, man. It's crazy. And that's what we needed. We needed the pulse right there, the fan base from Sean. All right, we'll get to real news. That's what we do when Sean Mapes is in for Ron Culver. Coming up next, we also have some news, and just to get this out here for a minute, because we'll touch on this a little more in between Sean and John McMullen, who will join us at 12:40. But as of now, the Alabama game is set. And as of now, the Alabama game, as I see it, has not been postponed, and rightfully so. Now, meanwhile, Florida postponed. Cincinnati, Tulsa postponed. Oklahoma State, Baylor postponed. 3 teams, top 10 and below, have been postponed this weekend. And I'll tell you why after real news, before our NFL Insider, why Alabama, so long as everything is as it is right now, needs to go on. All that next on the second level. Okay, give me 1 second.
Stop Jeff Van Gundy for the 1,000th time getting every job that's open in the NBA for the last 15 years. The guy's got the cushiest job in television. If he comes back after what has it been, 20 years to coach, up keel over. I mean, he's been offered every job in America. He's been offered the White House, and he turned that down too.
Pharrell Coast to Coast with Scott Pharrell. Weekdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern.
The Jake Asman Show.
The report yesterday from John Granado, who works for us right down the hall here, that fight with J.J. Watt and Bill O'Brien basically lost Bill O'Brien in the locker room. And it got me thinking to a very, very famous quote by former President Lyndon Johnson. He famously said, quote, "If I've lost Cronkite, I've lost Middle America," referring to the Vietnam War when Walter Cronkite, of course, the great newscaster, came out against the war in Vietnam. So the quote was, "If I've lost Cronkite, I've lost Middle America." Well, with the Texans, it's, "If I've lost J.J. Watt, I've lost the locker room." And basically that's what happened. So they can spin it however they want to spin it. We still believe in our team, and we wanted to make the change now. They made the change because it got so volatile in that locker room they had no choice, period.
The Jake Asman Show. Weekday mornings from 9 to 11 Eastern.
Wake up, Cole! The greatest crime-fighting duo in the early 80s television. Ralph! He couldn't fly with the suit because he lost the instruction manual. But he was able to solve a crime within an hour. If you do get a super suit from an alien being, don't lose the instruction manual. It's very, very important. Keep it in the drawer where you keep all the other instruction manuals, like for your KitchenAid.
Wake up call with Tony B and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings from 7 to 9 Eastern.
Sports Map all night.
I absolutely loved the decision by Matt Nagy. I
Damn
thought it was a winning move. It sends the clear message as to what your team and what your football culture is going to be about. It's going to be about winning, and it's going to be about competition. Facts are facts, man. Mitch Trubisky was not playing well enough to deserve being the starting quarterback.
And the only
of
way
Chicago
you can
Bears.
control, like the
Time when
only,
move was made. And also, the numbers, they aren't
Sean, I'm sorry.
eye-poppingly great
I'm just trying to think about this.
either. But there was a palpable difference in the
I'm gonna try to put McMullen on the because normally I put people on Telco 2. I'm gonna try him on Telco 1 just to see if that makes any difference.
Yeah, I wonder, is Jose in yet?
to do something.
No, not yet. Although in the next break I can go look for him. He's either gonna.
I'm just curious if he does something like that's a good observation. Maybe it's on the wrong.
Yeah, I'll ask Jose.
Yeah, but if you don't get to him before John, then I would say let's just try that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You're listening to The Second Level on the Sports Map Radio Network.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage. Home loans that fit your life. Rocket can.
From the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, with way more than the scores, here's Eitan Shander.
All right, real quick, before we get to real news with Sean Mapes, it's the opposite of fake news with Ron Culver. Here are 3 things going on right now today in the world of sports with no Thursday night football ahead of time. Technically 4. You've got a closeout scenario on the diamond tonight with the Rays, who should move on into the World Series. Tampa, I'm sure, half of the city at least is thrilled. Dodgers come off a gigantic win last night. Huge favorites tonight against the Braves. Do they even up the series? So that's the first of four things. And yeah, there's college football tonight, but it's not the same, trust me. We opened up the show talking about Le'Veon Bell, who is still one of the top trends in the entire country on social media because he apparently is down to three teams. The Chiefs, the Bills, and he wants you to believe, or they want you to believe, the Miami Dolphins. I don't. We also have Daryl Morey, who just now, we get 20 minutes ago, steps down as the general manager of the Houston Rockets. And not to be outdone by all of that, Nick Saban tested positive for COVID-19. And as of now, everything looks to be set. That Bama-Georgia game looks to be set. Bama, I see, is a 4-point home favorite. And it doesn't look like, despite LSU, Florida, and other games being postponed, does not look like Saban's positive test alone will shut this game down. And that's a good thing. If you are going to continually put these young men who aren't even getting paid at risk by parading them out there and hoping that you can get by without an outbreak, knowing that you've had to postpone due to precaution at the very least every week, then to cancel a game because a coach gets it would be an even bigger sign of hypocrisy if the NCAA can even get to that point, which I don't think they can. All right, with all of that said, we'll hit John McMullen, our NFL insider, coming up in 12 minutes, and now turn things over to Sean Mapes as he has three stories that he is banking on I have not heard. And the beauty of it is all of these stories, each and every one of them is true.
That is correct. So I'm going to kick things off. Normally, I like to stray away from sports, try to get as far away from sports and news, real, actual news as possible. This one, I feel should be mentioned. Nnamdi Asomugha, former Dream Team Eagle, is getting ready to make, I guess not his big screen debut, but his mainstream acting debut. He's going to star opposite Tessa Thompson in A Christmas Time, The One Who Got Away, Bittersweet Romance. Selvy's Love arrives to Amazon Prime December 25th.
You know, honestly, if it was anybody other than Nnamdi, I think I would at least recognize this. But that guy came in and was such a mate. Now, it wasn't all his fault. The Eagles brought him in to do something that he wasn't, be a completely different cornerback. But, you know, there were stories just about how aloof and just out of touch he was with every other teammate. He'd be eating lunch in his car. And
yeah, that's what I remember.
That's probably the one thing that you remember, right?
I remember that. I remember Vince Young call the backup quarterback, which is hilarious, calling the team the Dream Team.
The Dream Team. Yeah, that was the Dream Team year.
And then wasn't the defensive coordinator a former offensive line coach?
Juan Castillo.
Yeah,
was taken from the offensive line and turned into the defensive coordinator. Andy Reid was just piecing. I think Andy Reid was just delaying the inevitable, which was him getting a different job. I think he was just trying to lock down the Chiefs job that year, knowing that things are not going to be long for him in Philadelphia, and he couldn't get out until that was in. But yes, all of that. That's why I'm out on this Nnamdi. Good for him. Nothing personal. But as an Eagles fan, I feel like I cannot at all support this.
Yes, and that's why I feel like I had to mention it. I know you're out on Nnamdi. I want to keep you up to date with Nnamdi.
Okay.
I still can barely say his name, and I definitely cannot spell.
No, it's all good. Nnamdi.
Story number 2. Michigan man wanting for pooping in a box, placing it back on a shelf in a Van Buren Township grocery store.
What type of grocery store? Like a supermarket?
A Major.
And where's this Van Buren?
Michigan.
Michigan.
This comes from the Metro Times, Detroit Metro Times.
Ridiculous. Why? Was there any follow-up to this? What would cause, outside of just absurd lunacy, what would cause somebody to do this?
Police Wednesday say they still have no leads, and it's unclear why the man decided to defecate in a box rather than the store's bathroom.
Yeah, and here's the thing. I get it that stuff bleep happens, in this case, literally.
Yeah.
But there needs to be more from the actual store, supermarket, for me to feel comfortable going back in there.
Police posted surveillance of the incident on Facebook, but removed it after Meyer, I don't know, asked them to take it down. Police declined to send the video footage to the Metro News. I wonder.
So who posted this originally?
The police did.
Okay.
They had the CCTV footage, and I wonder if they don't have any leads on the person, because they have him on video doing it, but he's probably wearing a mask.
Got it. Yep. Unbelievable that this would be. Yeah, exactly. There needs to be something specific from the supermarket for me to know that I can feel safe going back in there and taking anything off the shelf and it's not containing human feces.
I wonder if someone found the feces or if they're able to take it off the shelves before.
It sounds like somebody found it.
Yeah, a family wanted some Cheerios.
Right.
Or maybe not. I don't know. Trying to think of the box easiest to defecate in.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Because it's got to be a wide mouth.
It's not going to be a box of cereal.
No, yeah, this is too thin.
That's tough. Right. You really have to have good aim there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's story 2. Understandable.
Yep. Story number 2. This is story number 3. I know everyone, when you do poorly on a test and you get the grade back, and you always want to just cover the grade as fast as you can, get away from it. Well, South Carolina law students aren't going to have that chance because the dean of South Carolina's largest law school is apologizing for forwarding an email that contained the names of the students that failed the bar exam and released the confidential bar exam grades of every student.
Okay.
So if you took the bar exam in South Carolina and did not pass, I guess everyone knows.
Yeah, that's it. That's the way in which now you know. It's public for everybody.
Yes.
I haven't heard any of these. Well, no, I should say that the Nnamdi one I did hear of simply because Eagles fans are going to be tweeting up a storm. So I caught that before, I want to say earlier in the day, like maybe a half hour or so ago. I did catch that. Yes.
Okay, yeah.
But
That
no.
is also about when I collected these stories.
Yeah, that's fine. Last minute. I get it. Like, I'm not expecting you to put any effort into this. Trust me. The other guy doesn't. Why should you? Right?
I
No,
don't
that
have to make them fake. I just have to.
you just have to
find
pick
real
up the real ones. Yeah, that's actually easier. You just hit up like Fark or even flip up. There are like a million of these other now sub Fark sites too. So
Yeah, I heard. I'm gonna be honest. I heard the poop story somewhere else, and I thought, hey, this is gonna be perfect for fake news or real news.
yes, that's the thing. So I have one for you.
Oh,
have
I
you
love
seen? Have you ever seen this show Dexter?
No, but it's come recommended my way. I just have not.
So here's the problem with it. I've seen every single episode of it, and there are a couple of really good seasons early. There's a season with John Lithgow, which is one of the most compelling seasons of television I've seen. The problem is that the show becomes unwatchable in the final 1.5 to 2 years. Worse than anything that Game of Thrones did, and I'm a huge critic of how they brutalized and just destroyed Game of Thrones. Dexter, apparently, there's a push for this show to come back if it's not already coming back. And the problem is that they blew it. Like, you blew it. If you get a shot at making a show, you blow it. And they did. The final the ending was awful, and the final year was awful. And you could even date back to like half of the second to last season as well, the final half of that second to last season. That was just terrible. So I get, if you're going to, and I'll meet people halfway, if you're going to remake or redo or revive something, at least do that with something that's been successful. But this is just a feeble attempt, at least in my opinion, Sean, to correct an error. You know, you don't see teams getting a chance to replay a World Series from 10 years ago.
No.
And I don't know. I'm just upset that people would accept this.
Yeah, and I don't think Dexter, from what it sounds, they made 2.5 good seasons of television. I don't think they deserve a second chance.
Yeah, I agree with you. No second chances at all. John McMullen will join us, our NFL insider. We have a busy slate to look at coming up next.
Jay Farner here, CEO of Rocket Mortgage. Making the right financial decisions has never been more important. When you turn to Rocket Mortgage, we can help guide you to those right decisions now when they matter most. Mortgage rates are near historic lows, so now is a great time to call 8338-ROCKET. And if you need some extra money, a cash-out refinance could give you that financial boost you're looking for. Call today at 8338-ROCKET or go to rocketmortgage.com to learn more.
Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
What do you get when you talk to a Dell Technologies advisor? You get someone who understands there's an art to listening, who's able to hear more than what's being said, and can provide tailored small business solutions that make you feel truly heard.
I understand. Let's get started.
For advice on everything from laptops to the cloud and solutions powered by Intel vPro platform, call an advisor today at 877-ASK-DELL.
Change is constant. That's why with Fidelity Wealth Management, your dedicated advisor will work with you to create a personalized plan for your full financial picture. One that can be adjusted as your needs change to help you stay on target. Plus, they can let you know what you're paying for and why. Learn more at fidelity.com/wealth. Investment minimums apply. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC.
This is time that matters. It will help protect the ones you love. Your preteen benefits from staying up to date with their well visits. This is your window of protection. Schedule their well visit now. Brought to you by Merck.
Every 2 minutes, a woman in the U.S. is diagnosed with breast cancer. And in that moment in time, her life changes forever. We're fighting alongside patients because we know one moment can change a lifetime.
Try Eucrisa for mild to moderate eczema. It works at and below the skin surface and can be used on almost everybody, like on the dimples of a diva. Yeah, roll your boat. Yeah, roll your boat. Or the shoulders of a chef. Look, Mom, I made jelly beans on toast. Steroid-free Eucrisa works at and below the skin surface. It blocks PDE4 enzymes, which is believed to reduce inflammation, even on the wrist of a rebel.
So you say you'll try John on the different one, right? I wonder how that sounds.
Yeah, he's on the other telco line.
To moderate eczema is for topical.
I'll start him where I normally would, and then I'll listen in on the Twitch. I'm on a little bit of a delay, but I'll listen in on Twitch.
Yeah, and I'll hear it right away too.
Yeah,
because I hear it coming back to me as well.
Yeah, okay. So maybe you just text
Yep.
me or something.
Absolutely.
Eucrisa.com and ask your doctor about Eucrisa. Can I sing one more song?
You're listening to The Second Level on the SportsMap Radio Network.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage. Home loans that fit your life. Rocket can.
From the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, with way more than the scores, here's Eitan Shander.
I wonder if our next guest, and a couple of things. First and foremost, he's probably upset that we didn't call him 12 minutes ago to redeem himself, at least, not me, on the fake news segment. Well, that's because Ron Culver is out for the next couple of days, so we went with real news, which is something completely different. We didn't really have the time to go through and explain it to John because he's busy covering the Eagles and the NFL and writing on Philly Voice and doing a bunch in the National Football League at JF McMullen, how you can follow our NFL Insider, courtesy of Jacob Media. So, John, first and foremost, we apologize. We'll have to delay fake news until next week, which I believe is going to be Tuesday now. So you're going to have to wait a couple of extra days. I hope you're all right with that, first and foremost.
Yeah, I mean, I assume Ron is running scared
because he tried to undercut me last week. So I assume that's.
I think that's why he took off.
Imagine it would be. Yeah, I can't imagine it would be anything else.
Okay, well, that's first and foremost. Now, second, just wanted to make sure. Have you seen the show Dexter?
Yeah, I've seen it.
And you were probably disappointed, like me, in the final 2 seasons.
I didn't get into it. I've probably seen 4 or 5 episodes total.
Oh, that's it. Okay, well then forget it. That's fine. We can move on to.
But I know the premise. I know.
Well, that's fine. But if you,
popularity of the show
and how bad it was, the ending and all. But that's fine. We can move on from that. Real quick, before we look ahead this weekend, how much do you think the delay and just the different set in the schedule, still being on the road, not the actual play on the field, because Josh Allen and the Bills got run off the field by the Titans, but do you think that there was much or maybe some impact on the delay of the game and having to wait an extra day and kind of being out of rhythm for the road team, not for the home team?
No, I don't. I don't think, and I've told you this before, I don't even consider home field advantage anymore in this current environment. So, I mean, I think it comes down to persevering in these weird circumstances and certain teams. And I think if you look at, I think the conventional wisdom was the Titans were up against it because of what went on and all the criticism. And that's the tack that's the path that I took. I thought that would happen, and I thought Buffalo was ready to go and trounce them, and it worked out the exact opposite way. And hey, they used it. And I saw all these people online. I'm sure you saw them too. And the Titans kind of said they felt disrespected by everyone criticizing them and everybody blaming them and everybody shaming them, which I've talked about a lot. And they used it, and it worked. And I don't know why people are upset. You use what you use, and if it works great. I always go back here. I cover the Eagles, as you know, on a daily basis. And the Super Bowl season and the whole underdog nonsense. The Eagles weren't underdogs. They were the favorites until Carson Wentz got hurt. That was a really, really good team, but they embraced the underdog mentality, the masks and all that. Once Nick Foles was inserted into the lineup, and everybody acted like they were this huge underdog and nobody knew they were a good team. It was a fallacy, but they used it and it worked. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't understand why people got upset with the Titans.
No, I understand. And I think now moving forward, it's going to be now still on Twitter and the things that should not be barometers for how actual human beings behave. But you will see, I think, a little less of the immediate, oh, my goodness, throw them out of the league, and maybe a little more middle ground. But again, that I guess I recognize that's asking a lot.
Yeah, that's asking a tremendous amount. And for whatever reason, and hey, I think it's natural that if someone does try to shame you, that would be the natural reaction. You would kind of get your back up and say, you know what, bleep you. And that's how I took it. I don't know how you saw it.
No,
but that's how I think that the Titans approached this.
Yeah, I agree, especially that comment from Taylor Lewan that went viral following it about adversity. And, that's a reflection. That's a result of people jumping all over them. That's not – the Titans didn't come out right away and say, oh, no, we got caught doing this, bleep everybody, and start hitting everybody up with middle fingers. There was such a conversation that developed from what they did that there was no other way but to react to it, unless you were just not going to mention it at all. And that players were not going to, keep silent by any means about it. So, no, I agree with you, and I think that the players themselves were more reactionary. Let me flip the script a little bit here, and let's look ahead with our time today. Let's start locally. The Philadelphia Eagles have been bet down from an 8 to a 7-point favorite. They host a Ravens team who, unless you're Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, you don't stand a shot against Baltimore so far. Is that going to stay the same for the Eagles now this Sunday?
Yeah, I don't see any way. I mean, this is, if you rewind back to San Francisco, we talked about that. That was the trademark Doug Peterson game where everybody picked against the Eagles, and so is this. And I talked about, maybe in a typical environment, 70,000 partisans would help the Eagles even the playing field, but you're only going to have about 5,500 people in the stands. That doesn't matter. Forget that. You can communicate. We talked about that all the time. The road team, no issues. Baltimore wins on the road typically anyway. I think they've won 8 straight dating back to last season when there were fans. They're such a good team. And remember that San Francisco game. Okay, San Francisco was a better team, but they had all the injuries. They were playing with a backup quarterback. Now you look at what the Ravens have been doing. Lamar Jackson is there, the reigning MVP. You saw what that defense did against Joe Burrow. I think it was, I don't know how many sacks, 15 quarterback hits. Patrick Queen was unbelievable, the rookie linebacker. They're just good. They're not coming into Philadelphia with 80% of the offensive line gone because no matter what the Eagles say, Lane Johnson isn't playing on Sunday.
Is not.
He is not.
Right.
So you're down to Jason Kelsey and a bunch of guys who never played before this season against that front, and there's no way.
Is it wrong for me, John, and we're chatting with John McMullen at JF McMullen, our NFL insider, courtesy of Jacob Media. Is it wrong for me to look at the Browns-Steelers game as the game of the weekend?
No, the Browns have kind of, I don't want to say proven themselves, but they're certainly not the typical Browns. So you have to give Kevin Stefanski a lot of credit. This happens sometimes. It seems to be those first-time head coaches, you either are really good early or really bad. There's few in between. And I think part of that is the newness of it, and people don't know what to expect. And Kevin Stefanski is leaning towards really good early. We know the Browns' history. You almost expect the other shoe to drop, but all of a sudden that division's looking like maybe it might be the best division in football, the AFC North. Just 3 really good teams, and Cincinnati is not terrible because Joe Burrow can at least play. But those top 3 teams, I mean, that's pretty good.
Especially when you add Cleveland in the mix, right? Because it's almost expected. It's a 3-point line. Pittsburgh is laying the points at home. Do you like Cleveland at all to either cover or even win this game?
Yeah, I mean, I think they have a chance. I do kind of default to Pittsburgh. You almost have to because of just the constant steadiness of that organization as a whole. But I do think you saw some of the deficiencies the Steelers have in the secondary last week when they were playing the Eagles because they gave up a lot. I mean, we just talked about that offense and the offensive line struggles and all the receivers that they made Travis Fulgham look like Randy Moss. I mean, so they have some issues in the secondary. So I do think you can score some points, and Cleveland has proven they can score some points. So if they do win, they're probably going to win a shootout, the Browns.
Fair enough. Let's look at another game here. And I don't know why this is not a bigger line outside of the game is in San Francisco, but it's not a total big, humongous trip to get from LA to San Fran. Why do you think the Niners are getting the points here and not, when you look at this Rams-Niners game specifically, how come, in anybody's opinion, especially yours, why wouldn't the Rams be a heavier favorite? They're only laying 3 on the road in San Francisco for Sunday Night Football. The Niners look like they're in major trouble. The Rams, outside of that one loss, look like they at least have some command over both sides of the ball. I'm a little surprised that the Rams aren't a heavier favorite.
Yeah, I think even odds makers kind of defer to teams that have shown success, and obviously the Niners are the reigning NFC champions. So I think you have a little bit of a lag there before it starts to show up for real, so to speak, and people start to realize, okay, this team's not that good anymore. And a lot of it has to do with injuries and the quarterback situation. So, if Nick Bosa is out there, we're probably having a different conversation. If they weren't so banged up early in the season and running back, they didn't lose Richard Sherman. If they were still able to hide the flaws of Jimmy Garoppolo, it's a totally different conversation. I think people are still defaulting to that. Eventually, they'll get past that and say, okay, this team's not that good this season.
Right. John,
So it's time to take advantage of it.
we've got a minute. Take it any way you want. Who is the worst team in the NFL right now?
That's got to start in New York, doesn't it?
I would think it's the
gotta
Jets
be-
personally, but I defer to you.
Yeah, it's got to be it's got to be the Jets because of the coaching situation. I mean, not only do you have poor talent, you have a poor organization, you have a coach that nobody respects. So I mean, that's a brew for incompetence, and that's what they are. It's amazing to me after what Adam Gase did in Miami that not only he got another job, but he got another job in the same division. So the Jets knew what was going on in theory in Miami, where everybody couldn't stand him. And by everybody, I mean his own players. How are you not capable of doing that due diligence? And they're living it. They're living that mistake.
It's crazy to see that play out and watch what's happening now moving forward with Bell, too. John, I got a jet, but thank you, sir. Have a great weekend. We'll pay attention to that Eagles-Ravens game and hopefully some good football as well. We'll chat on Tuesday.
All right. Thanks, Eitan.
You got it. John McMullen, our NFL insider at JF McMullen on Twitter. We wrap the hour next on the second level.
If business, pleasure, or sports fandom takes you to Houston, Dallas,
All right,
Austin, Fort Worth, or San Antonio, check out culturemap.com to get the scoop
Hmm.
on the local favorites. From the best restaurants, bars, pubs, and clubs.
Yeah, I don't
to
know,
the
man.
biggest sights and sounds each city has to offer.
I have no idea.
Culture Map has it all. Just head over to culturemap.com. The expert team personally reviews and visits each spot to make sure you get the best experience. And if you're coming back, sign up for free Culture Map updates at culturemap.com.
Wake up call.
What do you think about
Starting with the Arizona Cardinals hosting the Washington Redskins.
Did Jose
Oh,
say
come on,
anything
do I even ask
specific?
you?
Nope,
Kyle Murray, come on.
No, you were wrong there.
Jose?
Washington.
Oh, he just stepped in the middle of the interview and stepped out before I could.
Oh, no worries.
Dollar in the
Actually, I have to
R
ask
jar.
him.
In the
Are
R
you
jar
able?
at
Are you?
House.
How
At
long
the
do you
end of the
stick around?
season, I'll see how much I have.
Today I'm probably going to stick around for about 15, 30 more minutes.
Oh, perfect.
Because
Is
my
there any
number
way
one
you
pick,
can?
Michael
And if
Thomas,
you
has an
can't,
ankle
just let me
injury.
know.
He's
But let me
probably
explain
going to
kind of
play
what I
all
need.
year.
Is there any way you
Remember
could
when we
bring
talked
me
about Kevin
over
Durant in basketball
to the
or
other
what? When is he
studio?
coming back from that?
Have me
It's gonna be
connected,
like
and
that.
and
Michael
you can
Thomas
just
is just
listen
gonna
on
be
your
out
end.
every
I want to
game,
make
but
sure
every
I have an
weekend,
engineer
like, he
coming
can come
over.
back.
I want to make sure that
He's looking
somebody on
better.
the stream
And
that
then
you can
Sunday,
hear
yeah, he's
somebody on the stream.
It'll be like that for
So
9
it will
straight
only
weeks.
take like
All right,
5-6
so
minutes of your
$1 in the
time,
R jar
and I could
because
do it
I
at like
mentioned Redskins.
1:15 if that's okay.
Yes, I mean, I need Jose to show me how to do it, but I'm pretty confident I can.
Yeah, I mean, you can
Say
even
what this season
you can
is
even
about
have
the
Jose
players,
just
it is
switch me
not
over
about-
before Peralt show even begins.
Yeah, because he comes in on the Comrex, he come on the brick. Yeah, we can.
Right. So all you would need to do is just pull the brick up in the other studio,
Yeah.
and then I'm going to connect with somebody on the stream and make sure that you could hear them.
Okay, yeah, then we can totally do that.
Days from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern.
The second level.
I'm out on Jake. Like, I'm totally out on Jake. He's a great kid, great young man. I wish him the best, but I'm no longer going to be online. I'll be listening to the show before my show and everything, but he's no longer welcome on this program. Is that enough? Like, is that enough of a statement there? I'm sorry. I told you I am incredibly petty. I cannot be happy for this young man, and I should be. All he is a bright-eyed individual who's thrilled and happy and doesn't take 1 second of airtime for granted. He's great at what he does. He'll work 8 days a week. He's got an incredible ethic, and he's also talented. But I can't be happy for him because he's verified, and he won't tell me what he did to get verified. I can't deal with it. Muted. I'm done.
The Second Level with Eitan Shander, weekdays from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern.
Scratching beneath the surface. It's The Second Level on the SportsMap Radio Network.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage.
From the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, here's Eitan Shander.
All right, we're going to have to talk about this at some point tomorrow. We might even have to track Scoop down. Scoop B, of course, Brandon Robinson. You can follow him on Twitter at Scoop B. Rockets are interested in trading for Joel Embiid, hearing that everything is available except James Harden, and he tweets, "We'll monitor." Now, I know Scoop, and I know that he doesn't make stuff up. Somebody told him that. Somebody that he trusts in one of these organizations, most likely Houston, or an agent who's involved in it. Somebody told him that. So it might just be a phone call. It might be exploratory, but it's worth a mention. And if it's worth a mention, then you know it's worth a tweet from Scoop, who I have a ton of respect for. He's a hell of a grinder and is very connected in the NBA. This does not mean that this is going to happen or a trade is imminent or even that there's some legs to it. It just means that I want to hear from Scoop himself what the hell's going on before I wake up one day to find Joel Embiid is out of my city and down in Houston. My goodness. Now, no Thursday night football tonight. And here's your one for the road that we normally do just to close out the show. All Access Radio Inc., some people locally here in Philadelphia, Jason Barrett, who runs a now sports media site, put this out, and there will be a change, if you will, to the Second Level. We'll go from the Second Level to the middle, and we'll add a couple of new voices. One that you've heard already on SportsMap Radio, another former NFL player who's played in a couple of different markets, including winning a Super Bowl with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So we have a new facelift to this program, the middle with Brooks, Mays, and Eitan. So we'll explain a little more about that tomorrow, maybe even track Harry down to talk about what he expects from the show, because I'm sure his expectations are much different from my own. But that is the big news on the show as we continue to expand, and we will be heard live and local, seen as well, live and local in Philadelphia. So we add a new market that's going to be listening to us and hopefully watching, as everything is going to be able to be seen. Everything. Our heads, our faces, people that come on the show are going to be seen as well. Not just a big still shot of their cheesy mug on a bio. Matt Peralt next. All right, my friend. I'm going to step out for a sec. Are you able to, even if Jose can do it, I can stay on the brick?
Yeah, I can